Okay, so welcome to this second seminar on the PPSD, a document centered on risk management. Okay, so the webinar description is here, but you've already read that. This is what was sent to you when you registered for this seminar. The main point is it's a World Bank document. It has to be prepared for every World Bank project. The approach is borrowed not from procurement, but from project management, and it is centered on risk management. So what is the PPSD purpose? Well, there's a couple things. PPSD's purpose is to help borrower identify specific procurement arrangements. Procurement arrangement in the reform are basically different approaches, different techniques. It's also to help them identify and mitigate implementation risks. So risks related to procurement during project implementation. So as to improve the success rate. It is also there to provide custom solutions for a concrete project instead of a country-based approach. In other words, if you do a risk analysis, every project will be different, and you will be able to have custom procurement solution for every project. That was not the case before the reform. You have very little choice. Who prepares the PPSD? You prepare the PPSD if you're involved in the project itself. In other words, the project team will prepare the PPSD. It is integrated in the project appraisal document, also known as PAD, and the level of detail should be proportionate to the risk, value, context, and complexity of the project. Okay, so here's a very simple project risk definition. It's an uncertain event. It may or may not occur. In other words, something that is certain to occur is not a risk. It's a condition that we need to design the project around, or that we need to take into account. If there's no probability to occur, or it's so low as to be irrelevant, a meteorite strikes the Earth, you do not have a project, obviously, but it's not an event that will happen. If we say uncertain event, it means it's not in the past or present, it's in the future. So it's a future event that may or may not occur. There's a probability of occurrence that is not 100%, not 1% or 0. It has negative or positive effect on the progress toward the project objectives. Here, we will focus only on procurement-related risks, and it should be integrated in your project risk management strategy, even though here, once again, it's a document that is centered on procurement, so we will only discuss procurement risk. And in this specific case, the World Bank has mainly concentrated on negative risks. In other words, risks that affect the project in a negative way, but you may also have positive risks. Another question, this one is multiple choice. When should we prepare the PPSD? Is it A, during project closing phase, B, at any time during the project, C, before signing the financing agreement with the World Bank, or D, 1 month after signing the financing agreement with the World Bank? There's only one appropriate answer, so I'll let you answer. Okay, so I've seen people have given the right answer. That is before C, before signing the financing agreement with the World Bank. So you all answered that. It makes sense. In other words, we should prepare the PPSD before we have a financing agreement. Why? Well, first, before moving on, we should do that because the analysis of the PPSD will influence what happens during implementation phase. It will influence the procurement approaches we use. It will affect even budget, our activities, maybe even some people we hire, the type of contract, so on and so forth. So it feeds into the PAD, Project Appraisal Document, and it determines the procurement plan, and all of this has to be done before the financing agreement is signed. The best parallel would be with all the preliminary studies. So things like a financial capability studies, environmental studies, so on and so forth, are done before the financing agreement is signed, and they modify what happens during the implementation phase. So let us move on. The preparation of the PPSD starts at the concept stage if you're familiar with all the phase of a World Bank project. So that's very early on and way before the financing agreement is signed. So our choices, once again, have cost. And as I've said, it feeds into the PAD and determine the project procurement plan. The PPSD has a 7-part structure. I'll go very fast, but once again, as you can see, number 3 is procurement risk. This is the pivot, this is the center. So you start with a section which is merely an overview of the project. So it's information you have elsewhere. I won't discuss that a lot. You have section 2, which is major. That's your analysis. I'll discuss that later, but with this, we analyze several dimensions of the project and identify possible risks, possible problems. Then we move on to the central part, the risk analysis, risk management plan, and it determines what happens after the procurement objective. And 5, 6, 7 would be, let's say, the procurement approaches. So the section 2, overview of country borrower and marketplace. There are 3 interrelated capability and, once again, risk dimension. Operational context. This is an aspect concerning the environment of the project. So governance, economic aspects, sustainability, so on and so forth. For those familiar with it, it's a PESTEL analysis. There's another section on client capability and PIU assessment. This is about the capability of the PIU to manage procurement. And then there's a 3rd section, market research and analysis. This one is about the potential bidders, the market for different things that you will procure. So question for you. You're using several analysis tools like PESTEL. So which discipline did the World Bank borrow from, in other words, to pick up the tools for this analysis? Is it procurement, project management, accounting, monitoring, and evaluation? There's only one good answer here. So I'll let you answer that question. Some people answered procurement, other project management. Well, it's project management. Sure, it's a procurement document, but all the tools used in the analysis are borrowed from the discipline of project management. The World Bank did not invent any tool for this document. They borrowed techniques from project management, which makes sense because risk management is one of the areas of project management. A question for you in the chat. How would you summarize these 3 dimensions: operational context, client capability, PIU assessment, and market research and analysis? They're all the 3 areas that you find here in the 2nd section of your PPSD. They're the tools borrowed from project management. So you can answer in the chat, but I see people are a little bit shy today, which is normal. You all answered you were not very familiar with the PPSD. So I'll answer for you. Operational context, it's about the environment the project will be set in. So the legal environment in your country, the financial environment, if economic and financial, the physical environment, if it's a project affecting the natural environment, so on and so forth. Client capability is about the project implementation unit, so past experience doing similar procurement, things like that. And the 3rd area is about the suppliers themselves. So we analyze the environment we're in, our own capabilities, and the suppliers. And in that way, we identify several possible problem areas. Once we've done that, we need to move on to the central part of the document, the procurement risk analysis. So what we've done before so far is a summary of, we have a summary of this and we put it in the procurement risk analysis. The procurement risk analysis itself will determine the action that come after. It's a pivot point between 1 and 2. So we've done an analysis so far. We move on to the risk section and it determines what comes after. It's the pivot part of the document. Procurement risk analysis is done using 2 dimensions: the probability of occurrence, so the odds something will happen, and the impact when it happens. And they ask you to classify both of these dimensions. It's a typical risk management approach if you are familiar with it. So everything is classified low to high, 5 degrees. So very low, low, medium, high, very high. Probability of occurrence in one way, impact in another way. So the impact may be medium, probability of occurrence may be high, for example. It's an assessment done by the project. And you do this for every risk. And for every risk, you identify a risk owner and a mitigation strategy. And it's to be updated during the project part as part of project management. A risk owner is the person who will be managing the risk. If no one is managing something, well, it's not handled by the project. And a mitigation strategy is the solution you have so this problem doesn't affect you. So if you said, oh, we have high unemployment in an area where some of the works contracts will be done, you may say our mitigation strategy to avoid problems with the local population is to force the construction firm to use at least 75% of local labor as unskilled labor, for example. It's a clause that you've had in your bidding documents and then in your contract. If you haven't identified this as a problem, as a risk, and you don't have a mitigation strategy, you won't do it. Just a simple example. So it looks like that. You have a description, then the level of the risk. There are 8 dimensions of risks that the World Bank has identified. I won't read them all, but it could be about delivery and supply security. It could be about the relationship with suppliers. It could be about sustainability, environmental, social, so on and so forth. It could be about technical innovation. How new is it? It could be about your own experience doing something, so on and so forth. There's a recommended procurement approach for the PPSD, for the project, sorry. This is the section that comes after you have a risk strategy and mitigation measure. Once you have mitigation measure, you should determine, okay, but what are we really going to do to make sure this is done to minimize procurement risk? So what you do here is you use the novel techniques and approach developed by the World Bank in the new procurement framework, things that did not exist before. And for every high value and risk contract deemed necessary on a case-by-case basis, you will develop a custom strategy for each of these contracts, all of this linked to the procurement risk identified. The other contracts, the ones that are not high value, high risk, that don't bring specific problems or challenges, will have something that looks like a regular procurement plan. I'm sure you all have experience with that. Now that I've done doing a quick survey of what is a PPSD, I have 2 discussion questions for you if you are interested. You may answer in the chat one or the other, or even open your mic. So, does your project implementation unit have the proper in-house project management skills to prepare and update a PPSD? That'd be a question for you. Or are you currently managing procurement risk? I mean, you might not be in the PPSD environment, but you have a strategy right now to manage procurement risk. So these are my 2 questions. In addition to that, if you have any other question, you may ask it in the chat or by opening your mic. So any question or comments?
Yes, if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand by clicking on the reaction button on the bottom of your Zoom window. That will let us know if you want to ask a question by yourselves. Otherwise, you can write us directly in the chat if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. No question. Well, thank you very much. And I hope you've learned something today. If you want to know more about these topics, feel free to contact CETIM, which offers a variety of seminars related to procurement. Have a nice day, gentlemen, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Maxime, for this quick overview of the PPSD. As you saw and just experienced, for those who are not acquainted with our approach or method at CETIM International, we try to put things as much possible in practice. So that's the same kind of approach that you'll experience if you have the chance to attend to one of our seminars. For those of you who would like to attend to a seminar and learn more about the PPSD, but just not learn more, but put in practice this knowledge, we invite you to visit our website at cetim.com. And if I'll just have you navigating through our website, and if you go to the website, you'll be able to look for training seminars and find a training. And on this web page, you can just scroll down till you can choose public procurement, and you'll see that you have various sessions that are offered in different locations. We've got an upcoming one in June in Montreal, Canada, on public procurement audit and control. We've got one in Istanbul in July on public procurement goods and services, the best practices. Another one in Kuala Lumpur for those who are interested to visit Malaysia a bit later on this year in July and August. And we've got as well on the public procurement related topics, courses as well related to PPPs. So we've got planning and delivering of public-private partnerships held in Montreal in August, as well as one on contract management in Kuala Lumpur. So you can access these by just visiting our website and go under the section training seminars, find the training. If by any chance you would like us to deliver one of these courses for you personally, to have a tailor-made one that is organized locally in your country, it is possible. Please don't hesitate to contact us and we can draft you a proposal in order to do such. So from there, we hope that you're going to join us for an upcoming webinar, or even better, that you'll be joining us in one of our training sessions. So just visit our website, cetim.com, and from there you can choose one of the upcoming webinars or seminars that are to be taking place in the upcoming weeks or months. So we wish you a great afternoon and a good evening, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.